Well, hello, everyone. Happy Sunday. Welcome to Effed Up News of the Week for January 23rd, 2022. Effed Up News of the Week is a stream I do every Sunday on my main channel and on Odyssey and on Rockfin at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, where we review some of the more screwed up stories from the past week. It's a fun little stream. We get to talk about some. There was so this is like the second week in the row where there was actually way more effed up news on the docket that were considered potential options than I actually had time for. So I want to thank everyone, especially in my locals community this week, who have been diligently posting all of the effed up news. And we're going to go through some of those stories right now. But guys, just as a reminder, I am now streaming at 5 p.m. on this channel on Sundays for Effed Up News, but then on Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. On Fridays, we go over to my second channel, youtube.com/activelyunwoke for happy hour, where we watch a woke training of some sort. We may have to move happy hour a little earlier this week because of something else I have going on, but generally we're going to do that on Fridays. On Saturdays, I rest. And on Sundays, we get up to do it all over again. Now, this week on Tuesday, just to give you guys a little preview, I actually have Dennis Pratt coming on for the 5 p.m. stream on my main channel. He's going to talk about Pork Fest, the libertarian paradise. And now last year was my first year at Pork Fest. And Dennis is actually going to interview me about my experience there. Pork Fest is almost sold out. If you're thinking about coming to Pork Fest, get your tickets soon. If you don't know, but you think you might want to come, buy the tickets anyway, because you're definitely going to be able to sell them on the secondary market if you decide not to come. But tune in on Tuesday, and we're going to have a stream all about the greatest event of the year. So far as I'm concerned, I can't wait for Pork Fest. Anyway, guys, before we get into the news of the week, I, of course, have a couple announcements. If you have not been over to activelyunwoke.com yet, please make sure you check it out. This is the website that is not only going to be the homepage for my book that's coming out in April. You can pre-order it now on Amazon and all sorts of non-Amazon places as well. But I've got a few really great events coming up. Now, these events are free webinars. I'm doing them in webinar instead of on YouTube because what I want to do is I want to keep them private. I want people to be able to ask questions without the prying eyes of the public. And so on February 1st, I'm going to be giving the first webinar. It is going to be a bare bones introductory lesson to critical race theory, what newbies need to know. This is going to be great for your friends and family who maybe have heard of critical race theory, but they don't know exactly what it is. On February 11th, we're going to be moving on to a new webinar with Nicole Solis. Nicole is the mom in Rhode Island that sent in so many public records requests to her kids' schools that the teachers union sued her because they didn't want her finding out what the schools were going to teach her 5-year-old daughter. Nicole is a lawyer. She went to law school. She knows how to do these things, and she's going to come on and give a highly practical presentation about how to write public records requests and request information from the schools so that you can find out what the schools are hiding from you. Now, I do want to send a special thank you out to Dinesh D'Souza this week, who actually promoted this webinar. He retweeted it. I was so excited. Nicole was so excited. She said, now I really need to up my game. So both of these webinars are actually filling up. Now they are free, but space is limited. The one that I'm giving is about 40% of the way filled up right now. The one that Nicole is giving is just crossed. It's actually, no, it's about 30% of the way filled up. I just looked at it earlier. So if you're interested in either of those two webinars, you're going to want to make sure you sign up soon and get your friends and family to sign up too. Please share this information. I'm not doing these for my health. I'm doing them because I want to help get highly practical information out to the public in a way that we can work with, in a way that people can actually use to fight back. This is not going to be a high-level theoretical discussion. This is about the real world. Now, today, I actually just launched another webinar. On February 17th, Paul Rossi, former teacher and woke whistleblower extraordinaire, is going to come and show us all some of the investigative work he has been doing. Paul has been diligently investigating diversity trainings that schools are spending our taxpayer dollars on, that teachers are taking. He's got all sorts of clips from these trainings, and Twitter has actually started censoring the clips that Paul is pulling from these presentations. Paul puts videos of clips on Twitter. Twitter takes them right down. So he started posting them on Getter. Getter, of course, is not censoring them, but we're going to do a private webinar where Paul is going to show you exactly what your tax dollars are being spent on. And I'll tell you what, some of the things he's uncovering in these teacher trainings are very, very shocking. Being that Paul is a former teacher himself, he's going to be able to explain all of this to us, and I'm really looking forward to that. So that just launched on the website today. If you go to activelyunwoke.com, go under the live events section, you're going to be able to sign up for that. I literally just launched it 2 hours ago, so there's plenty of space right now, but I do fully expect this to fill up. And then the last event I have coming up is an exclusive for my local supporters. And of course, you guys know that you can join my locals at kb.locals.com/support. And this is going to be a book club with Aaron Keinsvatter. We're going to be reading the book you see on the screen there that I can't even say the name of on YouTube, called The R of the Mind. And this is all about how totalitarian regimes imprint their will on the public from a psychological perspective. Aaron is going to come and talk to us about the book. He didn't write the book, but Aaron is actually the person who introduced me to the book, and he's a psychologist and a counselor and an unwoke whistleblower himself. He blew the whistle on the University of Vermont before leaving to go into private practice, and he's going to come and have a conversation with us about that. Now, the 3 webinars that we talked about before are totally free. This Locals Book Club is an exclusive for my community members. So I'm very grateful to have the support I do from my community members. My locals members are the best. And the way you can join the club is by heading over to kb.locals.com/support, chipping in $5 a month. I paid more I paid more than $5 a month for a cup, or excuse me, I paid more than $5 for a cup of coffee today. Literally. Literally. This cup of coffee cost me more than it takes to join my locals for a month. If you don't want to do that, you can sign up for an annual membership for $50, which gives you 2 months for free. And you can also make a one-time gift at kb.locals.com/support. When you make a one-time gift through Locals, it gets you access to all the features in Locals. So that's pretty rad. We've got lots of cool stuff going on, including I have to send a big thank you and shout out to all of my Locals members who contributed to Effed Up News this week. I'll be thanking you all individually, but every week I've gotten into the habit of putting an Effed Up News preview post. And what happens is my Locals members post all kinds of effed up news. They give me great ideas. They post crazy stories. This is always pinned right at the top of my feed. So if you become a member of my locals, your stories could end up on effed up news. And you can go in and see all the other stories that people have posted, because unfortunately, I can't cover all the stories. And there are some really good stories. Like, there's some really good stuff in there. So that's one of the benefits of membership. Another benefit of membership is that you're going to get access to our community Zoom calls that we do twice a week. Our next one is tomorrow at 7 p.m. So plenty of time to sign up and come join our Zoom. Our Zooms have been off the hook lately. They're easily my favorite part of my week. If you can't make it on Mondays at 7, you can join us at Wednesdays at noon. We do these 2 every single week. We're doing a Bitchcraft, Craft and Bitch, the second Saturday of every month. We're going to be launching some small group sessions. I'm going to be launching a writers group in my locals. I'm going to be launching an Unwoke Mastermind group in my locals. I'm going to be launching a tarot and mystical stuff group in my locals. So if you're interested in any of those things, locals is a place where you can connect with like-minded people just to have normal conversation and escape the insanity of the internet. George Andre Veloso Nunez says, I already got the book. I just need to start it for the R of the Mind. Yeah, I started it the other day. It's a scary book, but it's really good. It is so relevant to our times. I can't wait for that book club. It's going to be great. Now, guys, one more programming note before we get started. So I signed up for this webinar from a leftist progressive group called Confronting the Rise of the School Board Disruptions. It's going to be later today at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. I forgot that I signed up for this webinar until I got the confirmation for it about 15 minutes ago. And so what I'm going to try to do after the stream, and I can't guarantee this, but I'm going to try. I'm going to try to set it up so that I can live stream this webinar. This is from a leftist group. It's about them complaining about the evil conservatives that are disrupting their school board meetings and what to do about it. I have the Zoom info for this webinar. and I'm going to try my absolute level best to live stream this later. I just need to figure out the mechanics of it, okay? So no promises, but that you're right, the 27th. Oh god, it's not even today. Never mind. I can't read. I can't. You know what confused me though, Ben? Thank you for pointing that out. Never mind. Cancel that. But you know what confused me is they actually said in the confirmation email that it was today. So never mind. I will try my level best to live stream this webinar on the 27th, which should be what? What is the 27th? Is that Thursday? Thursday. We're going to try to live stream this webinar on Thursday. That gives me plenty of time to figure this out. That makes me feel so much better. See? Thank you, Ben, for correcting my ability to read a calendar. Happy birthday to Lewis. I hope you had a wonderful day. All right, guys, let's jump into it. Let's start our effed up news of the week. Now, you guys may have seen this story several weeks ago, and I actually almost covered it on effed up news, but then I decided not to because I don't really like getting into the trans issues. If I'm honest, like, I don't really care if people are trans. There are issues around it. I do believe in protecting women's sports. I don't like this sort of thing, but I also don't know what the solution is, and I'm not the best person to figure it out. So I just generally don't touch on the trans stuff because quite frankly, there are just things that I'm more worried about. But I did find this story when it originally came out curious. Lia Thomas dominated by fellow Ivy League transgender swimmer Isaac Hennig. And this was about two trans swimmers in the Ivy Leagues. And one of them, this one, Lia, is a trans woman competing on the women's team. And then Isaac here is a trans man also competing on the women's team. Now, my understanding is that Isaac, the trans man, has not taken testosterone, has not taken hormones. And that's why he's still competing on the women's team, even though he's obviously socially transitioning. My understanding is that he hasn't started he did have top surgery, but but in terms of like taking testosterone and male hormones, my understanding is that he has not started that yet. So it's a little curious then that Isaac, who has not taken testosterone, would be able to beat Lia, who obviously was born male and is now transitioning to be a female and is swimming on the swim team at Penn. But I also kind of thought, I was like, this is kind of a weird story, but also kind of good for him if he really beat her. Good for him. I didn't really think too much of it until this article came out the other day, and this makes a lot more sense. This makes a lot more sense about what was happening. This was not about skill. They threw it. They plotted to throw the meat in order to make a political point about trans women in women's sports. Let's read from the New York Post. Penn swimmer alleges Lia Thomas colluded with fellow transgender athlete to lose. So Lia Thomas, the trans woman, has gotten a rash of heat and backlash for competing on the women's swim team as a trans woman, right? And so because of that, she purposefully threw the meat to the other transgender swimmer. I mean, come on, dude. That's not cool. A biological female member of the University of Pennsylvania's swimming team says she believes her transgender teammate, Lia Thomas, colluded with a Yale transgender athlete so she could lose to prove a point, according to the report. Let me just make the font a little bit bigger. Isaac Hennig, who is transitioning from female to male, beat Thomas in both the women's 100 and 400 freestyle races during an Ivy League swim meet on January 8th. Hennig was reportedly able to compete on the women's swim team because she has yet to start testosterone treatment. Thomas, who has been shattering team records, has become a lightning rod as her story has gained national attention in recent months. She previously competed as a man for 3 seasons at Penn. Her biological female teammate told Outkick on the condition of anonymity that she believes Thomas and Hennig hatched a plan during a recent meet. Hennig, looking at Lia's time, I don't think she was trying. I know they're friends, and I know they were talking before the meet. I think that she let her win to prove a point. Oh, see, a female to male beat me. I mean, to be really honest with you guys, it would not surprise me at all. That makes complete sense to me. When asked if she believed the pair colluded, the swimmer said, I do. I can't say for sure, but I wouldn't be shocked if I found out that was 100% true. Hennig won the freestyle race with a time of 49.57 seconds. Thomas touched the wall at 52.84 seconds. Though she swam the 100 freestyle in 49.42 seconds during a November tri meet with Princeton and Cornell, Outkick reported. The anonymous swimmer also believes Thomas wasn't giving her all in the 200-yard freestyle, which she won with a time of 1:48. Now, listen, I'm not a swimmer, but this is a pretty elite competition. We're talking about Ivy League swim teams. And so, for anyone who has competed that's watching right now, would I be wrong to say that adding almost 3 seconds to your time, it kind of seems like you threw it? Like, that's a lot. When we're talking about elite level competition, 3 seconds is a long time. And so if she was able to do it in 49.42 seconds in November, and this meet, which just happened to be against the other trans Ivy League swimmer, she swam 52.84. That to me seems like a pretty big gap when we're talking about elite level competition. Am I wrong about that? I was on deck and said to a friend, she's literally not trying. You could just tell, she told Outkick. It was blatantly obvious. I was watching the 200 free and she was literally keeping pace on the other girls. She was number 1 in the country at one point. These are definitely talented swimmers, but they're not the caliber of being at the top of the country or anything like that. You could tell when someone is dying and they're swimming slow, the swimmer added. You can also tell when someone is not trying. And I could see in the 200 freestyle that Lia was not trying. The swimmer's accusations come as the NCAA adopted new rules for sport by sports approach to trans athletes. So I wouldn't be surprised if she threw it. And I to be quite frank, if she thinks this is so something a stupid college student would do. I know these are Ivy League college students. I'm sure that they are very book smart. I am sure that they know lots of esoteric theoretical stuff. But I have worked at several Ivy League schools now, and I can tell you emphatically that just because someone is book smart and gets into an Ivy League school doesn't mean they're smart in the real world. This to me seems like a very, very deliberate, stupid college age person mistake. This is only going to make things worse. Like, did they really think that no one was going to figure out that she swam 3 seconds slower than the previous time? Did she think that that wasn't going to be talked about in the midst of all the media uproar? Now, listen, man, it's not as though I don't have a heart. I do feel for this trans woman that's competing on the Penn swim team. I do. That is an awful situation to be in. If she is legitimately transgendered, and I believe I have no reason to believe she's not. I have no reason to believe she just did this to compete at the on the college swim team, because apparently she was competing on the men's team. So she was already on the college, she was already on the elite level swim team. No, I'm not going to stop calling her. People in the chat are saying, stop calling her she. I will not. I will not. Because I believe that everyone deserves basic respect and courtesy. I do not agree with not using pronouns that people have asked for. I'm sorry, guys. I'm not going to play the pronoun game. This is a much bigger issue, though. It would not surprise me at all if she did throw it. And if she threw it and she thinks that helps her cause, this is only going to make things worse, man. George Andre Veloso Nunez says, the difference in losing and winning is usually less than a second in these competitions. That's exactly what I'm saying. That's exactly right. So, a little disappointing, to be honest. Probably gonna cause more harm than good, but I just thought that that was a really interesting story, to kick us off with today. Things are not always as they seem. We always have to be asking questions, pushing beyond the headlines because of course the media didn't push behind this. Average people did. All right, next up, and I have to thank, I believe, Rational Mirror. Yes, Rational Mirror in locals for bringing this attention story to my attention. I will also say that I did see this from Jack Posobiec as well. DC Mayor Muriel Browser asks residents to begin voluntarily rationing food at grocery stores. Oh, but I saw a press conference earlier this year in which, or not even earlier this year, earlier this week, in which Joe Biden said that those empty shelves at supermarkets weren't real. That's how Joe Biden started off his press conference this week. He was like, "Don't believe the empty shelves at the supermarkets. Supermarkets are mostly full. They're like 95% full. Don't believe those empty shelves that you've seen." All right. Gratitude always says, I have done work for multiple Ivy League schools, both as a consultant and as a staff member. I'm not going to say what because there are confidentiality things involved, but I'll say where: Harvard, Cornell, Dartmouth. I did something with someone at Yale. So I've worked for and with multiple Ivy League schools or people working there. George Andre Veloso Nunez says, as Sinema Sins would say, people have to play the pronoun game, have time to play the pronoun game. I don't have time to play the pronoun game. I don't care. I believe in basic respect and courtesy, guys. If you have given me no reason to believe you're trying to gain power over me, I don't really care what your pronouns are. All right, let's read food rationing. Food rationing in 2022. Who would have thunk it? Only a Joe Biden presidency could deliver us such a reality. This from The Last Refuge. For those of you who have prepared, it is wise to remember the advice that always accompanies the final stages of preparation. Once you are prepared, shut it, zip it, run silent, and run deep. The reason is simple, comrades. When the voluntary rationing phase concludes, those who have prepared are quickly cast as hoarders and targeted by those who created the desperation. It's always been thus. You know, I've never gotten the whole prepper thing. I never understood all those people who shill prepping products on their channels. It's just not my particular thing. It seems like man's work. I'm not really interested. I'm focused on other things. But I'm starting to think that maybe there's something to it. Now, I'm gonna be honest, I haven't seen the problem at the supermarket as much as a lot of places have, but I also live in New Hampshire where things are more rural. So that might not mean anything, but maybe there's something to it. Maybe I should reconsider. DC Mayor and COVID compliance minister Bowser asked residents in and around her region to enter a phase of voluntary rationing. What comes after the voluntary phase is the part many have been studiously preparing to avoid. And so we have this tweet that came out from DC Homeland Security and Engagement Management. If you're hitting the grocery stores, be prepared for winter weather. Please just buy what you need and leave some for others. You may have noticed empty shelves in some stores due to national supply chain issues, but there is no need to buy more than you normally would. Does anyone remember how that worked with toilet paper? This is like a classic scenario of what resists persists. If you tell people not to do something, they're going to run right out and do the thing you told them not to do. I don't know how people haven't figured this out yet. They're like, don't buy more toilet paper than you need. Then all of a sudden, people are running out of Target with like grocery carts filled with toilet paper. You think that's not going to happen here? Of course it will. People, of course, are going to be hoarding food. But maybe this is going to be a great time for people who shill prepping stuff on the internet. You can just buy those big tubs of things and have like, several weeks worth of beans and rice or whatever the heck is in those buckets. What is actually in those buckets? Does anyone actually own one of those? I don't know. If you own one of those prepping things, like tell me what's actually in it. Is it worth the investment? In the bigger picture, I find it revealing that only when leftist policies are followed to their natural conclusion do you see officials in the leftist economic system they created, a system not coincidentally always based off the outcome of scarcity, asking people not to engage in economic activity. Chasing socialism always creates the outcome where the expressed intent from government is not to buy stuff, rationing. Socialism or leftism in its modern form always creates scarcity. It is the diametrically opposite outcome of a free capitalist society. Let's see. Let's see. I've got some people chatting in. Freeze dried foods. Patrice says powdered eggs is amazing. Ben says that his dad slowly built up the supplies. So, but they were eaten in 2000. maybe I'll have to get one of those big buckets. My husband will probably my husband's probably already on top of this and I just don't know about it. He's like I'm gonna go downstairs one day. It's gonna be like, Carlin, look what I got, a prepper bucket full of beans and rice. I'm gonna be like, okay, fantastic. But that's not the only weird thing going on. Check this out. I have to thank, I believe Naruto in locals for this one, Rasmussen, this crazy Rasmussen survey. Dude, Democrats are insane. They really are. I also happen to believe that Twitter is actively turning people insane, which is not exclusive to Democrats. I think Twitter is just turning everyone that uses Twitter seriously insane. This is serious, guys. Like I have had no less than half a dozen people who I considered friends and like normal, sensible people in the real world be driven insane by Twitter use. Like, they lose it. They have a mental break of some sort where they become unhinged from reality. They start making stuff up. It is scary to watch. And I kind of wonder, if what I see in terms of like social, and I think sometime this week I have a study about how social media impacts people's mental health that I'm going to read on one of the streams this week. But I kind of wonder if the insanity that I see from people that I know from social media use follows this insanity that I've seen from the Democrats, and if these two things are connected, because some of the answers to this survey are legitimately like ridiculous. And I wonder if there's a connection between Democrats losing their minds and people on social media also losing their minds. I don't know. Are Democrats heavier users of social media than Republicans? That's a good question. I would like the answer to that question. Anyway, let's read this survey. Let's see what they said. While many voters have become skeptical towards the federal government's response to the COVID-19 pandemic, a majority of Democrats embrace restrictive policies, including punitive measures against those who haven't gotten vaccinated. Now, just as a reminder, the CDC is your god for all vaccine-related info. I myself am vaccinated. I'm not boosted. Don't plan on getting boosted. I did not experience any side effects, but you should check with the CDC for all your vaccine related info. A new Heartland Institute in Rasmussen reports national survey and online survey finds that 48% of voters favor Joe Biden's plan to impose a COVID-19 vaccine mandate on the employees of large companies and government agencies. Luckily, that was just struck down by the Supreme Court. That includes 33% who strongly favor the mandate. 48% are opposed to Biden's vaccine mandates, including 40% who strongly oppose the mandate. I don't know if anyone saw the coverage of the rally in DC today. There was a big anti-mandate rally in DC. I wish it had been bigger, if I'm honest. I wish it had been bigger. Now, this is one of those things that normally I might jet off to if I feel like it. I could not make the one in DC today, partially because I've been sick, partially because I'm just way, 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 way too busy. But I actually have a track record of flying places just to go to rallies. I wish I had seen more people show up to this one. And to be quite frank, it says a lot about the lack of motivation, particularly on the right. I'm sorry. I have been calling conservatives lazy for the better part of a year, actually probably longer than that. There should have been just as many people at that anti-mandates rally today in Washington, D.C., as there were on January 6th. There were 1 million people that came to D.C. on January 6th on a Wednesday. There were several thousand people at the rally today, but it was nothing to write home about. I've seen more people at rallies before. And what I'm seeing on Twitter is people saying, well, Carlin, it's just too dangerous to go to a rally. Dude, come on. So I'm disappointed in the turnout I saw today. I wish people had gotten their asses out of their house and gone to the rally, and especially given that the March for Life was like what, yesterday? Was that yesterday or the day before? There is no reason that every single person who went to the March for Life was not at this anti-mandate rally today. People have got to start taking responsibility, man. If you are not going to personally stand up and express your opinions, then do not expect anything to change. Don't expect anything to change. But Carlin, the government will come down on us and arrest us. So what? I got interviewed by the FBI for January 6th for tweeting from the Capitol lawn. So what? If you are more afraid of the consequences of speaking out than you are of the consequences of them instilling and enshrining mandates that are going to affect all of us forever ad nauseum, then you're not really in this fight, man. It's time to grow a pair, get up, speak up, go out and support what you support. If every single person who was opposed to vaccine mandates was at that rally, not even every single person, let's lower expectations. If 10% of the people who opposed vaccine mandates were at the rally today, that probably would have been millions of people. Do you think the federal government can come after all of you at once? The answer is they can't. And especially not if you don't give them any reason to. Especially if you don't do anything dumb. And to be quite frank, the way that rally was set up, there wasn't a whole lot of opportunity, at least in my understanding, for accidental tomfoolery and arrests. That was probably why they had it at those locations. So I am tired of hearing the excuses. I've been hearing excuses about why people can't go to rallies for the last 2 years. I am tired of it. You can. Most of the time when you go, there's nothing that's going to be happening that's wrong. You just got to get up and go. Anyway, I'm sorry. That was a little bit of a tangential rant, but I had to get that out of my system. I'm sure you guys understand. Voters were similarly divided over the federal government's top COVID expert, Dr. Anthony Fauci. 45% view Fauci favorably, including 28% who have a very favorable impression of him. 48% have an unfavorable impression of Fauci, including 34% who have a very unfavorable view of him. Well, at least that tide is turning. At least Fauci has a higher disapproval rating than approval. The even split among voters is the result of deep partisan divisions. While 78% of Democratic voters support the Biden administration's COVID-19 vaccine mandate plan, only 22% of Republicans and 41% of non-affiliated voters with either party support the mandate. And many Democrats would support even harsher measures, including fines for Americans who won't get the vaccine and criminal punishment for vaccine critics. So apparently, the First Amendment is no longer a thing. After 2 excruciatingly long years, likely voters are beginning to question the federal government's handling of the pandemic. Thank God for small favors. First and foremost, likely voters are beginning to sour on Dr. Anthony Fauci, who seems to have lost credibility after countless flip-flops. Moreover, almost half of likely voters oppose Biden's vaccine mandate. Let's see some other statistics. 58% of voters would oppose a proposal for federal or state governments to fine Americans who choose not to get the vaccine. However, 55% of Democratic voters would support such a proposal, compared to 19% of Republicans. So over half of Democrats want people to be fined if they don't get a vaccine. 59% of Democratic voters would favor a government policy requiring that citizens remain confined to their homes at all times except for emergencies if they refuse to get the COVID-19 vaccine. That's ridiculous. Such a proposal is opposed by 61% of likely voters. Nearly half, 48% of Democratic voters think federal and state governments should be able to fine or imprison individuals who publicly question the efficacy of the existing vaccines on social media, television, or in online and digital publications. So, this is 48% of Democrats telling us that they do not believe in free speech or free exchange of ideas. That's what this is. They don't believe in free speech. When people tell you who they are, believe them, guys. 45% of Democrats would favor governments requiring citizens to temporarily live in designated facilities or locations if they refuse to get a vaccine. They want to bring back concentration camps. Well, about two-thirds of likely voters, 66%, would be against the government using digital devices to track unvaccinated people to ensure they are quarantined or socially distanced from others. 47% of Democrats favor a government tracking program for those who won't get the COVID-19 vaccine. How far are Democrats willing to go in punishing the unvaccinated? 29% of Democratic voters would support temporarily removing parents' custody of their children if they refuse to take the COVID-19 vaccine. Naruto, I cannot imagine a more perfect super chat. Clearly, COVID has broken a lot of Democrats. Well, I've been having this discussion about like my theory on Twitter driving people insane. And what people keep telling me is Twitter's not driving people insane, Carlin. It's just revealing insanity that was already there. I don't think that's true. I really do think Twitter drives previously normal, healthy people insane. But I do think there's an argument to be made that maybe COVID didn't drive Democrats insane. Maybe they just revealed the insanity that was already there. So that's some crazy info from Democrats. And, the other thing about Democrats is they're totally willing to punish anyone who goes against them. I have to thank Chris B, Retro Quit, Chris and Locals for this story. Sinema censured by Arizona Democrats over filibuster stance that blocked voting rights legislation. So not only do Democrats apparently believe in imprisoning their enemies in concentration camps if they don't do what they want them to do, they will also censure duly elected officials who don't vote the way they want them to vote. Now, I have to acknowledge that Liz Cheney got into similar trouble with the Republican Party over voting to impeach Donald Trump. However, I have to say, I think this is a little bit different because Liz Cheney, it wasn't about just one vote that Liz Cheney made to impeach Donald Trump. Liz Cheney has been on a warpath against every single thing that Republican voters value for like a year. Liz Cheney is no longer in touch with the people that she represents in her state at all in any way. Arizona is a much more purple state. Arizona, whether you believe the results of the election or you do not believe the results of the election, Arizona was a very close state. It is a purple state. And so it is not as out of the ordinary for Kyrsten Sinema, who is the senator from Arizona, to want to try to work in a bipartisan fashion. That is actually much more in line, probably, with what the people in her state actually want. Whereas Liz Cheney is from Wyoming, which is like 97% Republican. So these are two fundamentally different things. And I do want to acknowledge that it does on the face of it look a little hypocritical to complain about the Arizona Democrats censuring Kyrsten Sinema when I'm also completely in favor of the Wyoming Republicans booting Liz Cheney's ass out of the party. But they are two different things and they are two different scenarios. It's not like Kyrsten Sinema has been on a year-long warpath against the Democrats. She just didn't want to change the filibuster rules. She was opposed to one thing, one single thing, whereas Liz Cheney is an insane person. All right, let's read this article. Sinema censured by Arizona Democrats for her filibuster stance that blocked voting rights legislation. The Arizona Democratic Party Executive Board announced Saturday it would formally censure Arizona Democrat Kyrsten Sinema for voting to maintain the Senate's filibuster rules, effectively blocking voting legislation, a key priority for the party. The symbolic gesture Saturday from Arizona Democrats adds to the mounting pressure Sinema is facing from those in her state who helped her flip a Senate seat in 2018. Sinema, who started her political career as a progressive, has been a target on the left during Biden administration for her stances. Sinema and Senator Joe Manchin, both centrists, were the only two Democrats on Wednesday to join all the Republicans in voting to maintain the Senate's 60-vote threshold to overcome a filibuster on legislation. Now, I heard rumors and mussings that there were other Democratic senators who did not favor changing the filibuster rule, but they couldn't say it publicly because they were afraid of backlash from their voters. So I've said it a million times, but thank God for Kyrsten Sinema and Joe Manchin. Thank God for the backbone that the two of them have. Their backbones must be made out of steel, man. The amount of pressure these two must have been under, good for them. Good for them for not caving. While we take no pleasure in this announcement, the Arizona Democratic Party Executive Board has decided to formally censure Senator Sinema as a result of her failure to do whatever it takes to ensure the health of our democracy. I want to be clear. The Arizona Democratic Party is a diverse coalition with plenty of room for policy disagreement. While apparently not if you're censuring someone based on one single vote that you didn't like. However, on the matter of the filibuster and the urgency to protect voting rights, we have been crystal clear. In the choice between an archaic legislative norm and protecting Arizonans' rights to vote, we choose the latter, and we always will. In a statement on Saturday, Sinema's office defended her record. During 3 terms in the U.S. House and now in the Senate, Kyrsten has always promised Arizonans that she would be an independent voice for the state, not for either political party. She's delivered for Arizonans and has always been honest about where she stands. Good for Kyrsten Sinema, man. Good for her. I still want to hang out with her. I want to raid her closet. She has the best clothes. I know I just wear all black all the time and she wears lots of fun colors, but man, like, good for her. I just want to have a margarita sometime with her in Phoenix. Is that too much to ask? The Brooklyn Way says, hello, Queen Bee. Hello, Brooklyn Way. Welcome to Effed Up News. Guys, please mount that like button if you have not mounted it already. As a reminder, I do Effed Up News every Sunday at 5 p.m. and I will be streaming on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday tomorrow on my main channel. On Fridays, we go to my second channel, Actively Unwoke. All the information is in the description below. Let's keep going. This one, I have to thank Brooke in Locals for bringing this story to my attention because this is just a weird story. Apparently, healthcare systems are trying to prevent their employees from quitting. That's not legal. That's not legal. This is from, I'm not even sure where the location of this is. In Wisconsin, Theta Care asked court to temporarily stop 7 stroke and trauma employees from moving to Ascension. They're literally suing their own employees to prevent them from leaving. How crazy is that? Naruto, settle down. It's the grand finale. Settle down. I'm getting to it, okay? Theta Care officials are asking a county judge to pause the recruitment of 7 of their employees to Ascension, Northeast Wisconsin, arguing the move will endanger patients in the region who need treatment for strokes and therapeutic injuries. I have to wonder if this is an organization that also fired people who wouldn't take vaccines. Has this organization fired anyone over the mandates? I'm just curious about that. In a Thursday interview, the Theta Care leaders said Ascension recruited a group of Theta Care employees from its interventional radiology and cardiovascular team. The team performs procedures to stop bleeding in targeted areas during a traumatic injury or restore blood flow to the brain in a case of a stroke. 7 of the 11 employees on that team accepted offers with Ascension and will start there next week if the court decides not to act. Good. Good. Listen, man, the vast majority of employees in this country, and that includes probably every single one of you watching right now, whether you're watching on YouTube or Odyssey or Rockfin, the vast majority of employees in this country are employees at will. What that means now, employment at will sometimes gets a bad rap because, in the case of vaccine mandates, employment at will means an organization can fire an employee at any time for any reason or for no reason at all. And so, people often think that employment at will is just about protecting organizations, but it's actually not. Employment at will also means that employees can quit at any time for any reason or for no reason at all. You know, in my local Zoom call this week, there was one of my locals members who actually just got a new job and he's putting in his 2 weeks notice. And I said to him, I was like, you don't need to give 2 weeks notice, right? And he's going to because he's a good dude. He doesn't want to leave his team in a lurch, but you are under no obligation to give your employer 2 weeks notice. You are under no obligation to give your employer a month's notice. Now, some employers, if you have like a pool of vacation days, you might lose the payout that you would get from that if you didn't give them proper notice. But I actually advise people, when you are leaving a job, just leave. Just quit. Just walk out. You are under no obligation to give your employer any notice at all. And the reason I say that is not that I'm a big fan of leaving employers in the lurch, but to be honest, I've seen a lot of employers retaliate against employees who are leaving in that window where they've given notice. So I actually once had a client who was in a horrible toxic job. She ended up getting a new job that she was really excited about. She gave a month's notice at the old job. Within that month's notice, the employer was so pissed that she was leaving to go to this new job that they framed her for something that she did not do. And she ended up not only losing the job she currently had because they fired her during the period in which she gave notice, but they also end up calling the new job, and the new job rescinded the offer over the bullshit excuse that her old employer made up and framed her for. These things happen. They happen all the time. You are under no obligation to give your employers notice. So I don't know what the hell's going on here with them thinking that they can prevent employees from leaving. Justin White says this story is old. This story is 3 days old, so I wouldn't say it's old, Justin. The court granted the injunction. They can't work at the new place until the court is heard. That's some bullshit right there. That's some bullshit. What kind of contract? Guys, do not ever sign an effing contract. If there's really an injunction where they can't leave, then they signed a contract of some sort. Do not sign contracts that prevent you from being able to quit when you want to. Theta Care filed for a temporary injunction on Thursday, which would halt the employees' move for Ascension to 90 days to give Theta Care time to work for replacement staff. Without more time, Theta Care leaders said they would struggle to treat trauma and stroke patients locally, which could mean sending a severely injured person hours away before they can get care. There's only a small group of people who have this type of expertise. Justin said they had no contract. Dude, there is no cause for this. Employment at will is a thing. If a court said you can't leave a job, that is a wrong, incorrect ruling. I'm not a lawyer. I'm seeing in the chat that some other YouTube lawyers have covered this, so maybe they have a different opinion. But this is basic. If there's no contract, then you are an at-will employee. You can leave whenever the F you want. And if Theta Care wants to keep employees around, then perhaps they should work on making sure their employees are happy with their work environments. They should also work with their human resource people on staffing plans to make sure that all positions are covered, because clearly human resources dropped the ball on that one. The law community is an uproar over it. That's some bullshit. See, thank God you guys watch YouTube, because I don't. I don't have the time or the patience. Dude, that's crazy. But in general, guys, in general, this something like this is very rare to happen. If you are leaving a job, just effing leave. Just go. Go live your best life. Move on to that next great adventure. All right, guys, let's move on. Now, let's get into some cat related stories. Naruto, I told you I was going to get to it. This is a little weird. If things weren't weird enough, Naruto brought this story to my attention in locals this week, and I thank you for it, my friend. Sub teacher claimed she was fired for not meowing back at a student who identifies as a feline. This is what it has come to. A substitute teacher says she was canned for not identifying with all of her students, including a younger boy who claimed to be a cat. In a TikTok video, a woman going by the handle Crazy Name Bridget Michael, probably not the most credible TikTok handle in the world, but okay, claimed she was let go for not meowing back at a student who then stormed out of the classroom. I'm a sub, and the most important thing we do is take roll so the school gets paid, the teacher rants. So I'm looking at the seating chart and I'm going up and down the rows and marking who's here and who's not. I get to the third row and I hear this meow. Excuse me? The woman goes on to say that a little girl told her that the teacher needs to meow back because the boy identifies as a cat. The substitute jokingly asked if there was a litter box in the classroom. The boy then stormed off, and the teacher barked at him. Naruto, you didn't prepare me for that line. The teacher barked at Hang on, I should always make the font bigger. She ends the video by stating that when she went to the main office to check out for the day, she was told, "We no longer need your services if you can't identify with all the children in the classroom." I told the lady, I said, "I didn't know cats were considered people. I thought they were pets." The video ends after the substitute teacher asks, "Another school off my list," suggesting she has had issues before. I'm curious, guys. What do you think in the chat? If you were a substitute teacher and your job depended on it, would you meow at a John Morgan? This is real. This is real. And I'm going to give you even more evidence that this is the mentality that schools are now taking. Check this out. This is from Business Insider, who showed me this story. I think it's Chris B. Yup, Retro Chris. Chris B had a lot of great news stories for Effed Up News this week. Michigan superintendent denies rumors that litter box were put in bathroom for students who identified as furries. Is this the next great step in the transgender craze that's taking over teenagers' minds? Is this what it has come to? I mean, listen, man. I've said it a million times. I do not believe that children under the age of 18 should be medically transitioning to anything, except in extreme circumstances. I could rationalize it for a very few exception cases. But I believe social transition is fine. I believe if you feel like you are not a boy or a girl, then you want to cut your hair and wear clothes a certain way and bind your chest and do whatever you want to do. Not my business. You haven't permanently hurt your body. And if you decide you want to do so after you turn 18, that is your business. But I do wonder, are parents that are trying to be progressive and woke going so far that they're actually convincing their children that they're animals? Is that what's going on? Why would it even be a question? Why would this even be a topic of conversation? This makes no sense. George Andre Velasco Nunez says, "My biological cat actually gets mad at me when I meow back at her." I mean, maybe the teacher from that previous article was just trying not to offend the student. Maybe the teacher was just trying to establish a relationship of dominance over the student. I mean, the teacher is the authority figure in the classroom. Maybe the teacher was just trying to relate to the I don't know. Let's read this article. A superintendent in Michigan denied rumors that schools had added litter box to bathrooms for use by students who identified as furries. It is unconscionable that this afternoon I am sending this communication. At least we can agree on that. We can definitely agree on that. It is unconscionable this afternoon that I'm sending this communication. Midland Public Schools Superintendent Michael E. Serro wrote in a post to Facebook. However, our Midland Public School stakeholders may be confused about a false message or accusation that has resurfaced this week and is gaining traction in the social media realm. Furries are individuals who take a particular interest in anthropomorphized adults. Some of who identify as furries wear animal costumes or tails. Sarah said the rumor was brought up by a parent during a school board meeting in December last year. As the Morning Sun reports, at a December 20th meeting of the Midland Public School Board, a parent said she was disturbed after she heard a litter box had been added for use in at least one all-gender room in one of the district schools for students who identify as cats. Yesterday I heard something and I was stunned, and today I am equally stunned, according to a video posted to YouTube. I'm not going to play the video right now. As Insider previously reported, school board meetings have become battlegrounds, blah, 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 blah. Our community needs to understand that the agenda that is being pushed through our schools is somewhat nefarious when it comes to some of the activities. So let's talk about furries, the woman said, adding she planned to do more investigation. Maybe we should watch this video. I wonder how long this video is. Hang on. No, we're not watching the video. It's an hour and 28 minutes. I'm not going to find it right now. Sorry, you guys will just have to go and watch the video on your own time. As the Morning Sun reported, no board members responded to the claim at the November 20th meeting, but Sarah on Thursday dismissed it entirely. Let me be clear in this communication. There is no truth whatsoever to this false statement and accusation. There have never been litter boxes within MPS schools. The rumor was also spread on Facebook by Michonne Maddock, the co-chair of the Michigan GOP. Kids who identify as furries get a litter box in the school bathroom. Parents, heroes, will take back our schools, Maddock wrote. Well, you know, I do think probably, to be honest, the GOP probably jumped the gun on that one. They're using it to gain clicks and likes and all that. They should have done more investigation. It is such a source of disappointment that I felt the necessity to communicate this message to you, Sarah said in his message on Facebook, telling parents to send him a message if they ever had a question about any wild accusations that don't sound like something the district would do. I have to say, I absolutely love the annoyance of the teacher in regards to this, or the principal in regards to this. You can like feel the righteous indignation. So why was the litter box in the bathroom? Why was the litter box in the bathroom? The article never answered this question. Are they bringing cats to school? Was it bring your cat to school day? Why the F was a litter box in the bathroom then? This is basic journalism, Connor, the author of the article. Why didn't Connor, journalist, ask why a litter box was in the classroom? This seems like the bathroom. This seems like the very first question that should have been asked. If it wasn't for furries, then what was it for? Oh, fun times, fun times. David Skidmore said, Solzhenitsyn, let the lie come into the world, but not through me. Thank you, David, for that super chat. I appreciate it. All right, this was a last minute addition to Effed Up News here. Thank you to Ben who sent this in last minute. Jamie Oliver employs cultural appropriation specialists to avoid potential recipe insensitivities. Yes, even cooking can be racist. Do you guys remember when they tried to cancel Indian food? Remember when they tried to cancel curry? What the hell? What the hell? Let me just make this a little bit bigger for you guys. There we go. Jamie Oliver has reportedly revealed that he employs cultural appropriation specialists to check his recipes to avoid potential insensitivities, according to the Sunday Times. The TV chef was asked about the issue of foreign cuisines and cultural appropriations in a new interview within the newspaper's cultural supplement. Did they try to cancel nachos? Have they no heart? My God. In 2018, Oliver was forced to defend. Guys, what other foods have they tried to cancel? If you've heard of them trying to cancel other foods, I mean, I'm not talking about like Uncle Ben or Aunt Jemima. Those are like mascots. Like, what other types of food have they tried to cancel from culture? Milk? Yes, Lisa's right. Milk is racist. I've always found wasabi offensive as well, personally. Wasabi is deeply offensive. Oh, they're canceling Zumba? Okay, obviously. Let's make a list in the chat. They tried to cancel tacos? No, it's the Republicans who tried to cancel fries. Remember, this was like the original cancellation. Do you guys remember during the initial like Iraq War when France wouldn't join the coalition and the Republicans, the conservatives, decided to rename French fries into freedom fries because they were so pissed off at France? That was like the original food cancellation, and it came from the right. Don't ever tell me the right doesn't cancel things. They do. They tried to cancel French fries back in the day. Sushi, you're right. I do remember they tried to cancel sushi. My God. Have they no humanity? In 2018, Oliver was forced to defend the name of his punchy jerk rice, claiming it highlighted his culinary inspiration after facing criticism from Labour Shadow Equalities Minister Don Butler. In 2014, he came under fire for his interpretation of West African dish jollof rice. Speaking to Culture, he reportedly said he now employs teams of cultural appropriation specialists to ensure he does not make any mistakes. So it's not even just one person. He has a whole team of people that is making sure that his food is not offensive. Your immediate reaction is to be defensive and say, for the love of God, really? Yes, Jamie, and that is the correct reaction. That is, your initial reaction is the correct reaction. That is the reaction that every normal person should have. That is the reaction you should go with, Jamie. Trust your instinct, trust your gut. Our gut instincts come from somewhere. It's our brain taking in a boat ton of information on a subconscious basis, processing all that information in our subconscious so we're not consciously aware of it, and then delivering us an answer. And then the answer your brain delivered you was, for the love of God, really. That's what you should have taken and run with, Jamie. And then you go, well, we don't want to offend anyone. No. Stop overthinking the initial reaction. This is good advice in general, guys. If you have a gut reaction, don't think your way out of that gut reaction. Follow the gut reaction. Let's see. What are some other things that have been canceled in the chat? Let's see. No, Michelle Obama did not cancel fries. Republicans canceled French fries. Sin says croissants, hamburgers, and fortune cookies. Man. Oliver also said in 2012, Empire roast chicken recipe would not be acceptable today, according to an interview. Why? What is wrong with roast chicken? What's wrong with Empire roast chicken? I don't understand. The 47-year-old father of five, who rose to fame as the Naked Chef in the late 1990s and went on to launch numerous cookbooks and several TV shows, is not the only famous cookery star or major brand to have been accused of cultural appropriation. Oh, good, we get a list. In 2019, Gordon Ramsay's Pan-Asian restaurant Lucky Cat in London's exclusive Mayfair was criticized by a food critic. Well, earlier that year, Marks and Spencer was accused of cultural appropriation after it released a vegan wrap labeled as a biryani. And in 2017, I don't know how to pronounce that name, was mocked by Italians. Oh, Nigella Lawson, I know how to pronounce it. I got there. Was mocked by Italians after sharing a recipe for spaghetti carbonara using the non-traditional ingredient of cream. I bet Gordon Ramsay told that food critic to go shove it. Guys, if you've never eaten at one of Gordon Ramsay's restaurants, oh, they're so good. I know it's expensive. I know it is. But I've had very few better meals in my life than I've had at Gordon Ramsay's restaurants. I actually have an autographed picture of Gordon Ramsay that Victor and I both got an autographed picture of Gordon Ramsay when we ate at his steakhouse in Vegas. We got their tasting course. It was like one of the most expensive dinners I've ever had in my life. I mean, I think we spent like $1,000 on dinner that night. It was like ridiculously expensive. I got a whole wine pairing with it, but it was the best meal ever. It was so effing good. It was so worth it. I know it's expensive, but like, man, everything I have ever had in a Gordon Ramsay restaurant has been just unbelievably amazing. So I don't care I don't care what Gordon Ramsay can culturally appropriate whatever he wants. I do not care. It was delicious. All right, guys, this last story is a fun one. Actually, I have one more thing after this. This less a story, but more an update. But I do always like to end on a fun story. And I think that this is a really fun story for us to conclude with for today. Just a reminder, please mount that like button if you have not already. And if you're not subscribed to the channel, I hope today I'll earn your subscription. I do content every single day of the week, except for Saturdays. Saturdays, I take the day off and I knit and I watch movies and things like that. But please make sure you're subscribed. This week, I have learned of a rash of people who were mysteriously unsubscribed from my channel, including Naruto. Naruto, who has been one of my longest and best supporters, was literally unsubscribed from my channel midstream by YouTube this week. So if you think you're subscribed to the channel, just make sure you double check for me and, turn on notifications if you like. All right, this is from the College Fix. Student receives praise for bogus paper on how milk is a colonizer of coffee. I like this story for a couple different reasons. I like this story because I like that a student had the balls to make this joke in a paper in college. And I also like that the professor is so woke that they took it seriously. What a sign of our times. That this paper was exactly what the professor wanted. Let me just make that font a little bit bigger. I got to get into the habit of making the font bigger before we start the stream. That would be nice. All right, that's good enough. A college student in Sweden recently decided to take a class on critical race theory as a joke, and then added to the fun by turning in a hoax paper. I love this student. I wonder if this student speaks English. I don't know. Arvid? Arvid. I think that's how we're pronouncing that. Arvid signed up for Critical Whiteness Perspectives on Nordic Culture at Stockholm University because he said local pandemic grant rules had equipped him and other students with an unexpected financial aid windfall. I once joked that maybe I should crowdfund like going to like community college or something, and I would just take like woke courses. I like, wouldn't it be funny if I took enough woke courses at like a community college or something that I crowdfunded that I accidentally ended up with a degree in like gender studies? I think that would be pretty funny myself. George says, I heard that joke a long time ago. Many of us have. But it would be cool, right? Like I could crowdfund me going to community college just to take these crazy courses, but I would report back everything to you guys. I don't know if I have time to take community college courses in woke shit, but I do like maybe we need to figure that out. I'm accidentally going to get an associate's degree in gender studies or whiteness studies or something. Arvid thought he'd get something fun out of the harmless and absurd class, but he soon realized many of his peers took the American born ideology seriously. Arvid bided his time, occasionally offering some critical comments here and there, but saved the best for last, an essay titled Black and White Drinks, described as an account of what happened from the earliest 20th century in the struggle between coffee and milk. According to Freya Tyre, Arvid related how the marketing of the coffee has been characterized by highlighting black and exotic elements of the drink. When it comes to milk, it has instead been the local and white that has been emphasized. The question one can ask is whether it is really a reconciliation between milk and coffee that has been implemented, or whether adding milk to coffee is a way to take away from the coffee its unique properties and instead impose the black drink white properties. You know, Joshua once told me that you can tell what kind of person someone is based on how they take their coffee. Joshua says that people who put cream in their coffee are not ready for the harsh bitterness of life. And so Joshua only drinks his coffee black because he is ready for the harsh bitterness that life has to offer. Milk in the coffee can with critical glasses can be seen as a drink based colonization. The hot and strong coffee cools and is rounded off in taste with the help of the milk, which thereby controls and domesticates the coffee. Arvid, left, admitted he did not read most of the books or blog posts he cited, nor even knew what critical whiteness perspectives meant. Nonetheless, the instructor gave him a B for the paper, noting that it was an exciting topic with creative thinking. He even suggested Arvid expand upon his thoughts in a longer essay. The instructor's only criticism was that for the paper did not have exact source references for the photos. The joke must have gone over his head, Arvid said. Exposing the quackery of fields like critical whiteness studies began in earnest 25 years ago with the classic Skokel hoax, which claimed that the quantum gravity is a social and linguistic construct. And then they got some more information there about that hoax. Of course, we also know the infamous grievance studies that James Lindsay, Peter Boghossian, and Helen Pluckrose did. But congratulations to Arvid. You fooled your professor for the day. All right, guys, I have one more thing to cover today. It's about Brandon Straka and the Walkaway campaign. It's a little bit more of a serious thing. I'm gonna have to change my my window for it. But before we get into that, just a reminder, I do this every single week on Sundays. And if you haven't yet, please make sure you check out activelyunwoke.com. Actively Unwoke is not only the home of my new book that's going to be coming out in April. I'm going to pop this in the chat right now for everyone. It's also in the description below. You can pre-order my book right now on Amazon and all sorts of non-Amazon options. It's been endorsed by Chris Rufo, Jody Shaw, Paul Rossi, Eric Matheny, Frank McCormick, Dr. Howard Asher. I have other people that are sending in endorsements as well, including Brandon Straka. He just hasn't done it yet, but he's going to. So my book is about how to fight back against the woke in your life. I'm also building out this amazing platform. I'm going to be launching the application for the Unwoke Army this week that is going to go first exclusively to my local supporters, and then we're going to build out from there. I also have some other really good ideas and fun projects that I'm going to be launching this week. Please make sure you're on the mailing list. How you get on the mailing list is by scrolling down right here, and you go to get email updates. If you are in my locals, you should also be on the mailing list, even if you just signed up for a free membership. So those are ways that you can find out there. And of course, members of my locals are always going to hear the same announcements that I send out to my email list, and they're probably going to hear it first, to be honest. The best thing I have going on Actively Unwoke right now is this live events section outlining some free webinars that I've got coming up. I just announced this one today, Die Hard, Critical Race Theory Training Exposed, with Paul Rossi. This is going to be great. He's going to show you actual clips from these crazy teacher diversity trainings that he's been watching, funded by your taxpayer dollars. We're going to be doing a lot of stuff like this leading up to the launch of my book, which is on April 26th. So make sure you get involved now. It's going to be awesome. All right. So I want to show you guys the last thing I have for today. I just need to change my window because I want to show you. Hang on. This email from Brandon Strzok that came out earlier today. If you are not on Brandon's mailing list, I think you can go to brandonstrock.com to sign up for that. But guys, Walkaway's leader is being sentenced tomorrow for pleading guilty to a Class B misdemeanor involving January 6th. Now, a Class B misdemeanor in this case is Brandon basically pled guilty to yelling at a cop on Capitol grounds. That's what he pled guilty for. It was for yelling at a cop on Capitol grounds. Brandon did not go in the building. All of the felony charges that the government tried to lay on him fell apart because it was obviously not him. But they still had to get him anyway. And for Brandon, I'm speaking for myself. I'm not speaking for him, but I think what he would say is pleading guilty was the very best and quickest way to get his life back because his case has been delayed 10 effing times. The government has strung this out because Brandon is one of the most effective activists in this country, and the government wanted to string his case out as long as possible to shut him up. So I want to read you guys this email that Brandon sent out earlier today, and please send him prayers and good vibes and all of these things because tomorrow it will finally be over. Brandon said, "My hope for tomorrow, dear patriots. It's been a long, dark road. After a year of delays, I'm hopeful that tomorrow will finally bring my sentencing and that will finally bring us to the beginning of the end. It's been a year of indescribable pain, stress, worry, pressure, and fear. My hope is that no matter what happens at my sentencing, even if it's the very worst possible outcome, that it will bring us to a point of being able to let go of the burden of constantly wondering what is next and asking, what if, what if? I hope that simply knowing what is will be the beginning of moving forward from all of this. There have been 10 delays, which have strung my case out for a year. I can only hope that sentencing will be tomorrow as scheduled, but it ain't over till it's actually over. So please include in your prayers that this really does take place tomorrow and that we're on to the next step to the first step of moving on. Sentencing is tomorrow, Monday, January 24th at 11 a.m. You can listen to the hearing by using the call-in line here. And guys, I did post this information on my Twitter account, on my Getter account, and in my locals. Okay? So if you are following me on Twitter, Getter, or locals, you have this post. I posted a screenshot of that call-in number so you can refer back to it later. Please say a prayer. If you'd like to provide financial support, please scroll down with links and instructions on how you can help. And as always, keep the faith. We're almost there. You can also buy these awesome Let's Go Brandon t-shirts at his website. And I think it'd be great. I think it would be great if we all showed up at the first Walkaway event back after Brandon comes back wearing these Let's Go Brandon t-shirts. I was texting with Brandon earlier, just sending my best wishes. He's still really stressed out. But you know what? He said, he was like, Carlin, you know what? Fuck them all. I said, yes, Brandon. That is exactly the right attitude. Because what's going to happen tomorrow is probably as soon as the sentencing is over, there's going to be all sorts of stories in the media about his sentencing. Of course, they're all going to be written by leftist journalists. And Brandon is taking the most appropriate attitude, which is fuck them all. It's time to move on. They're afraid of Brandon because of how powerful he is and how effective he is. And it is my hope that tomorrow he can actually feel like he has his life back and he can actually finally feel some closure in this situation that's been denied him for a really long time. So again, please send all your thoughts and prayers to him tomorrow. He is one of the best, most true people that I know in this little game, and I'm really pulling for him, and I'm happy to finally see this coming to a conclusion. All right, guys, that's all I've got for Effed Up News this week. Now, if you want to support the work I do, Of course, subscribing to the channel is great. Mounting that like button is great. But what would really help me out is if you joined up in my locals community as a supporter. Now, locals is free to join. You can join for free at kb.locals.com. Bing. You can check it out. You can see what's going on in the community. There's all sorts of free content. Some liars on the internet this week said, Carlin only keeps things behind a paywall. No, I don't. Very little in my locals is actually behind a paywall. My live streams are certainly not behind a paywall. But if you do want to get extra features and perks, you can join up at $5 a month. You can do it for $50 a year, which gives you 2 months for free. You can make a one-time gift and you get access to my locals for the duration of that one-time gift. Come join the best locals community. And that's not just because it's mine. It's because of the people in it. Honestly, my locals members and supporters, the folks we talk to on Zoom calls on Mondays and Wednesdays, they're just the very best people. Everyone is sane. We keep each other happy and in good spirits. We support each other. It's a crazy world out there, guys. It's really important that you find your people and that you have some refuge in the insanity that is the internet. All right, everyone, that's all I have for today. I will be back live at 5 tomorrow. I'm solo tomorrow. I've got some stories I'm thinking about covering. Check back on the channel tomorrow afternoon, and you should get a list of what is going to be covered live at 5. But until then, take care. Have a great rest of your weekend, and we'll see you soon.